everyone, V the Amazing Greek here. Today I'm going to show you how to install, and the reverse procedure I'm going to show you will be for removal. I didn't have time to do it when I was doing it. But we have the power control module, sometimes called electronic control module, electronic control unit. The paper is trying to call it single board engine controller. What it is the computer for your car, the Neon. Let me show you what this looks like. This right here. Okay. That has a bunch of computers in it, little computers, and if you saw, I did the alternator where I took that out, and then the reverse, of course, to put it in. Had that rebuilt. I had 8 volts prior to the alternator being taken out. Had it rebuilt, and now I had like 29 or 30 volts charging the battery, and it was still bad for it. The Neon alternators do not have voltage regulators on them. Instead, it is in this box right here is what controls it. So as soon as I told the guys what the problem was, they're like, "Oh, that's in your board. That's the the regulator part in there." So this part for my particular car, it's a little pricey. They range anywhere from $229 to $447 if you can get them at Advance. The problem is there's one company that makes these. It's like iDones or something like that. iDones. Well, the company that makes them didn't even have them any in stock, depending on the part number you need. Whatever computer they put in your car originally, need to get one just like it, and they'll reprogram. That's the other thing. I had to go to Chrysler to get mine, so it ended up costing me like $650, $200 more than at the auto parts store, simply because they had one sitting on a shelf in Atlanta. I got very, very lucky. Apparently these are getting hard to come by. So even after spending all that money, once I get it installed, I have to go back up to the dealer and pay another $89 for them to program it. That's right. The part you just paid $650 for is not even programmed. So it's not car payments. It's a one-time cost, and it'll be done. So I'm getting ready to reinstall it, and then just watch it through, and then do the reverse to take it out. It's not that hard. It's just a couple things in the way. I'll show you actually before we get started. It sits right down in there. Right down in here. Here's where your battery sits. We'll get us a picture. There's where your battery goes, right there. Your air filter housing kind of sits in here. That's part of your air filter thing there. The intake, and then there's the tube, goes into the electronic fuel injection and all that, puts the air, mixes it with the fuel and all that. So you do have to take out the air filter housing, but it's only like one bolt right here and one right here that holds it in, and then a bunch of little plugs. I'll show you all that. And then, like I said, just do the opposite to take it out. It's not that bad. Once I knew where it was, I just started pulling stuff off to get to it. You can't go by the paper they give you in the replacement part, because the removal instructions that they tell you for a Dodge Neon, they don't have an engine like this. They've got the damn, they got it all jacked up. This is completely useless as far as removal and installation, because it doesn't even give the right procedure. So let me get myself set up, and then I'll show you the steps I'm doing, and those are just opposite, like I said, and anybody can do this if you got a couple of tools and some patience. So let's get started and have more fun working on the Dodge. Okay, this is the driver's side headlight right here. Here's our computer. Now, the bolts, these two bolts go on the bottom, and the nut comes in from the side. They're 10 millimeter, all of them. I used the deep well for the bolt that is sticking out right here. Now, the way this goes in, the back plate faces your the driver's face, and what happens is you lower it down. The bolt sticks out on the side, so you have to come in at an angle, set this on. Then you'll put your nut to hold it on. Then you have to go underneath the car and feel, unless you have a way to jack the car up, and put the bolts in like this from underneath, and then that'll secure the computer in the car. So I'm gonna do that. Bucket to hold my stuff here. So I hope when you're taking this out, be careful the wiring and stuff. If my car's a 2001, it's 12 years old, so you don't want to just bending and twisting wires and cables, because over time they get hot. The insulation can be brittle, so be very gentle with that, because you don't want to create other problems by being rough in here. Just use your patience, otherwise you create a headache for yourself later. And when putting this in, be aware of where all your plugs are that you took off earlier. Lower this down. Okay. There it is. It's down. Now I'm going to try to get it into position. There we go. So I can put it on this bolt. It's a little bit snug. There we go. It's in position. So now I'll just put the nut on there to keep it in position, so I don't knock it down when I'm putting the bolts from underneath. After I get it secure, then I'll plug in these. So let me crawl under there and get everything tight. That might not be too bad an angle. You might have been able to see what I was doing. Okay, so I put it in. I mounted that side bolt. I went to put my bottom mounting bolts in. Nothing lined up. So I brought it inside. Now I'm going to have to bend something. Now when I took them the computer, I kept the mounting plate, because I didn't know if they were going to give me one or not, because everything I've bought so far, auto parts, big parts, you go to buy a power steering pump, it doesn't have a pulley on it. What the crap is that, you know? So I looked. Here's the one that just came in. See, it kind of bends out. Well, this is the one that was on my car, and it's more than 90. So I'm gonna have to push those up a little bit. It's got plenty of room here, so I'm glad I saved this, so I can do it outside the car, not just pushing on it, and get it right. So that's something to be aware of. I paid $600 for this. I did not know if they were going to give me this, but I am glad I kept it. So now I can bend my non-conforming piece to the correct angle. That was pretty easy. I could just bend it with the palm of my hand. So a little bit of pressure at a time, get it to match up your old plate, and then slide it in. So that's what we're doing one more time. Okay, it's hard to see, but we have the two plugs. I started freaking out for a second because I did not mark left and right, and I thought, oh my God, how am I going to do this and not blow this thing? Okay, so the way they have it set up, see the plug? One side is smooth, the other has these catches for the lid that closes. Well, the way the computer module is, the flats have to be touching and sit in. You cannot put plug to flat or plug to plug. So basically what I'm saying is the long cable coming from your where your spark plugs go in, your overhead valve cover, the valve cover here, that long cable, that one's gonna go towards the passenger side, and the short one that is right here behind the control module, has very little cable, goes on the driver's side. So I'm going to put the driver's side one on first. And of course it's got, there we go, that snapped into place. On the inside it has these little squarish slots so that you slide it into position correctly. Don't force. And you got 40 pins. They call this a 40 pin connector on each side, and just slowly press it on. Don't force it. Like I said, you'll create more problems for yourself. There we go. Seating. All right. And I heard the snap, so we're good there. And let me move the camera and I'll show you the next plug that we're going to put back into position. Yeah, you can barely see in there. Okay, the next one's hard to see. This is the old plate. This part is where your bolt came through. It's sitting over here against the driver's side wall of the wheel. There's two more holes, here and here. Now there's a sensor right here. See if we can see that. That's it right there. It has two prongs that I had to pry off out of those two holes. So now you're gonna they're gonna come from this direction, and they're gonna plug right back in there so that the sensor does not just free hang. I don't know if I can get, I'll try just to show you what I'm doing. Put as much light as I can. So we've got this plug right here, and we're just going to plug it into the two holes that it has for the little, there we go. It's those type of things like hold your plastic panels on. They look like you would pull through a gun to clean it. I don't know the technical name for them. I guess they're called automotive plugs. So don't break those off when you pull it out. Just put a screwdriver in there and pry the plug loose. Don't break it off. Otherwise you may have to zip tie it onto there or something. Alright, now we're going to put the air filter housing back in. It's fairly large. Before I could pull this out from the mounting bolt here, can you see that? Yeah, the mounting bolt here and a mounting hole here, which it'll go like this. This part goes to your intake. There were 4 bolts holding this part of it. I don't know the technical name for this, but it's the first stage after the air filter. Then it goes to a hose and continues on. So you have to take those 4 bolts from the inside. They're fairly easy to get to, and I believe, again, 10 millimeter. So everything we're doing on this job, a 10 millimeter deep well and a 10 millimeter regular depth. So we want to be careful here. And this just slides. Be careful because you have this hose here that we had to disconnect earlier. And this is a clip that goes right here. Has some electrical wiring. There we go, and there we go. That's in position right there. All right. Then I'll plug my This right here, yeah, it's got those, the same type of holder that plug we just did. It just presses right in. There we go. That doesn't go anywhere. This comes under here. This hose right here, that was one that I took off. And is there another one? These brackets right here hold the wire harness that the 40 pin plug that we just plugged in. That holds that right there. So we have one nut to put on here, one bolt, and then our 4 bolts holding the intake to the air filter housing. And that's what I'm going to do now. Alright, one thing I forgot to mention and forgot to do is put this back on. It's got a lip right here that sits inside the housing. It's not super secure fit, it just kind of goes over the tube down there, takes the air in, just like that, and then there's a little plug right here that goes on. Let's make sure we got everything right. Got one on the side, alright. You push it in, and there's a little red knob right there. Can you guys see that knob? Oh shit, sorry. Yeah, there we go. That's a good ass camera. Alright. So to take one of these off, you slide the lock up, gently pull out. You scared the shit out of me, Karen. So you slide it back on, and that locks it into position. This is the same type of lock that is on the alternator. You have to feel it with your hand unless you're able to get the car jacked up. Another sensor in this area that has the same type deal is right there. Has the same type setup. That one was unlocked and now it's locked. And then I'm going to tighten that bolt there, this one here, and there is a hose on the back side right there. This attaches to the housing that we're putting back on, so you have to take that off when you initially go to take it off. So now I'm going to put all the bolts in. Alright, so now the first step before you pull all this out, we've got it back together now, the air filter. Now the air filter for the Neon, if you're doing this, you might as well change it anyway. It's a real loose fit right there, but what you do is it has a lip right here that catches. This is all rubberized. So when you put it on, you push down a little bit and that seals it. If you just set it in there, that's not right. You have to push it down and then snap in place. And then be careful on the older ones. Every time I pull my cover off, the seal in here comes out, so be aware of that. If you pull it off, it could fall down. It just helps it seal better and not rattle. If it does come out, you can just push it in there with a flathead screwdriver. So I'm going to put that back on, and then I'll put the battery in, and we'll see if the computer is set to start or if it's not. And if not, then it's a $40 to $60 tow charge to get up there, depending on, you know, who you're dealing with and, you know, all that. So that's something that is a possibility that will happen. Alright, the last step in reassembly and the first step in disassembly is the battery connection. You always take the negative off first, because electricity flows from positive to negative. So you take the negative off, set it back, take your positive off, and then the opposite, putting it on, put your positive on, then your negative on. These are 10 millimeters. 10 millimeter. So that's everything there is for installation and removal. And my dad was here, so we tested it, and the car did start up, thank God. So I won't have to tow it. I'll just drive it up to the Chrysler place, and where I'm at, it's $89 to program it. They'll take your VIN number, and they'll take your mileage, and they'll set the car up to what it's supposed to be. That way everything runs good. And if you have power windows, it'll work those. If you don't, they'll tell it don't worry about it and all that. This is my understanding. So not too bad. I'm not sure what time it is, but it wasn't that bad. It's not dark yet, so a couple hours. You can do it if you can find the part. They're saying they're hard to come by, and that sucks because I love this car. So good luck to you if you have to do it. I hope it helped you out a little bit. It's tight in there, so just take your time. Don't force nothing because you'll break it. I've learned that over time. Don't force nothing, and you can do it. So good luck if you have this problem. And any questions, I'll try to help you out. So be the amazing Greek. You guys have a good one.